There is no other podcast like this, so proceed with caution as we challenge your beliefs by providing the forbidden information kept away from you and your family by modern medicine, so they can keep you on the path of drugs for anything and drugs for everything. Hundreds of years of preventative medical wisdom have been dismantled by Big Pharma. We are truly in the dark ages of healing. After all, it's not just about living long. It's about living well. If your continuing search for answers has led you nowhere, you will find the truth here on the Forbidden Doctor podcast. Seek the truth with your hosts, Dr. Jack and Mary Stockwell.
Hey, everybody, it's Dr. Jack.
And Mary.
And this is podcast episode 90, if you can believe it.
Yes.
We're only 10 away from our
100,
first century.
Yeah.
This one is entitled Fire in the Belly. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Eliminating heartburn in 30 days.
Is this why you call me a podcast hog?
Well, we're trying to finish this in 30 minutes. Our last podcast went so long that we feel
Yeah, it took
really
an hour and a
bad.
half to do that last one.
So we're going to try and get through this pretty
This will be
quickly.
quicker. And we are simultaneously recording, of course, as a webinar so that you can see the pictures that go with this.
Because we have the coolest picture. It's slide number 2, and it's a dragon. You have to see this picture.
Yeah, well, there are those who feel like that.
Yeah. Because you go right in.
Well, what we want to start off here is the fact that more than 40%, according to the NIH, more than 40% of all Americans over the age of 25, not 55, 25,
so sad.
suffer from indigestion at one time or another. And for some, it's a temporary inconvenience, but others, man, it is hell on earth. So a close look at the demographics that we're going to go through here in a moment reveal more and more people in all age brackets suffering from what is typically a self-induced problem.
And easy to fix.
And while there might be a microbe out there called H. pylori, Helicobacter pylori, that's responsible for stomach ulcers,
For ulcers.
there is no virus or bacteria that causes acid reflux.
Before we get started, we want to invite all of you to take our free symptom survey. Just go to our website, forbiddendoctor.com. Get your grandmother, get your sisters, get your nephews, all of them to go to our website, take the free symptom survey. They will get a personalized protocol waiting for you when you go back to the website and sign in with your username and password. It's really cool.
I'm sorry. I was going in two different
once you
directions
get
at once.
into our website, because you do have to get into it. This isn't something anybody can just see. You have to have a username and password
Right.
and do a consultation, which is the survey. Once you get in there, you can simply type the word heartburn in the search box, and up will pop the protocol for heartburn.
And anybody that you know that's not a listener to the Forbidden Doctor that you know is suffering from heartburn, tell them to get on here and take this free survey so we can help them.
Okay, our weekly feature, Forbidden Secrets They Don't Want You to Know. These are secret things they keep from you, the dumb things they tell you, and the really important things they know nothing about.
Can I start with something very personal?
These are the secret things.
Yeah, I don't know how to say this. I finally got a hemorrhoid.
Oh, you said it out loud.
I'm going to be 66 in 3 weeks. I thought I made it safe.
That's because you didn't have any babies.
Well, I thought I had some kind of an infection because it hurt when I kind of did something.
Yeah.
And then once when I was showering, holy smoke, what is that? So I employed our hemorrhoid protocol.
You did.
I took 9 collinsonia root capsules 3 times a day.
27.
When I first woke up in the morning, I took 9. In the afternoon, away from lunch, I took 9. In the evening, away from dinner, I took 9.
As you're supposed to.
Within 24 hours, the pain started to reduce. Within 48 hours, it was shrinking considerably. 3 days later, 72 hours, there was nothing there. Nothing. It had disappeared. And this is like 6 days later or something like that right now. Nothing. No problem. No.
You mean what we talk about actually works?
I'm going to do my own testimonial.
That is so fantastic. Jack
Collinsonia
Hemorrhoid
root.
story.
Yes. It's available from SP.
Okay, just one second. Okay, we just broke for a second, but we're right back here. The next thing that we're going to talk to you about on the webinar, it's slide number 5 here, is Prilosec. This is like the purple pill, Prevacet. There's all different types of PPIs. They're called proton pump inhibitors. And the reason we bring this up right in the beginning, because we're going to just bash it to death all the way through this podcast, is because I bet you all didn't notice at the bottom of this cute little advertisement I have there, Larry the cable guy, he says, I can eat anything I want, and I take my Prilosec, and I'm just fine.
Yeah.
See, I do that really well, don't I?
Yeah.
Because my dad's from Kentucky. So
You sound just like him.
yeah, I did. Yeah. So he says, eat anything you want, and you just take your Prilosec and you're fine. And it's really true. And let me tell you why. Because Prilosec not only stops the proton pump from producing acid, it forces the pyloric valve open. And that's the valve that is at the bottom of your stomach that goes down into your small intestine. And it gets the food out of your stomach really quickly.
Undigested.
Yeah. It's miraculous. Truly. It gets rid of the symptom like that fast. But it causes the most terrific stuff. In the small print, it says, do not take this for more than 14 days.
Yes. We have patients who've been taking it for 20
decades.
years.
Decades.
Their bones are falling apart. Their skin is falling apart. Their muscles are falling apart.
Well, here it says right on the advertisement, Prilosec can cause serious side effects, including bone fractures. It says people who take multiple daily doses of proton pump inhibitors medicine for a long period of time, a year or longer. Why would they do that? It says only take it for 14 days.
Right.
It says it may have an increased risk of fractures of the hip, wrist, or spine. And I've even heard of people's jaws falling off.
Yes.
And we will tell you why that happens. They also say, talk to your pharmacist or your doctor about ways to prevent bone loss or fractures, such as taking calcium and vitamin D supplements. Oh boy, these are the really important things they know nothing about, and this is life-threatening. We had a lady that had some heart problems, and we just talked to her kind of superficially. We didn't do a really in-depth consultation, and so we kind of threw a bunch of heart products on her, which we had talked about in our last podcast. But they weren't working like we thought. I mean, they just weren't making the dramatic changes we thought it would make. Well, I found out she had been taking Prilosec. She had been diagnosed with Barrett's esophagus. I mean, some really scary stuff. So we had done this backwards.
Yes.
We had given her food that she had no ability to break down.
Yes.
So it was we kind of wasted it, which was kind of sad. Because it's, expensive. There's supplements. It's not terrible, but it is, it's food, but it's still a little bit expensive. So we had to go back and fix that and go after her gut before she could ever break down the supplements to help her heart. Because her doctor had told her she had to be on Prilosec the rest of her life. So they were just managing symptoms.
Yes.
So she would no longer be able to break down protein. Why do you think she had heart problems?
Yeah, because the protein structure of her heart is getting weak.
Yeah.
Why does she have bone problems? Why do her x-rays look like she's got serious osteoporosis? Because she does. Because a third of your bone is protein. And when your body can no longer break down the protein you eat from taking these things, there's going to be hell to pay.
But, honey, all she had to take was calcium and vitamin D. That's what the doctors say.
Really?
They didn't
That's
say anything about protein. So here's my next slide. Eating well with poor digestion is like having the finest car with the cheapest gasoline.
Oh, but we eat well in our family. I hear that all the time. I hear about terrible digestion problems, elimination problems, chronic diarrhea, chronic constipation, painful bowel movements. And I'll say, well, tell me what do you eat for breakfast? Oh, we eat well in our family.
Well, the truth is you can eat the best foods ever grown or produced and still not be healthy if your digestion system isn't operating up to its maximum levels of efficiency. Because whatever you're eating, it's not getting digested.
Yes, and when you do not have enough acid in the stomach, you cannot break down protein well, and it rots, and it putrefies, and it ferments, and you get the formation of these unnatural acids and chemical compounds. And we're just going to get to that right now. So this webinar, this podcast, is not intended to be a diversion away from the current system of gastrointestinal disease management. If there's somebody out there managing your gastrointestinal disease,
Not healing it, mind you, but managing it.
Yes, you consult with them. I mean, you do whatever you want to do, but we're telling you to consult with them. I mean, it's our intention to offer you a rational, very effective approach to aiding your body in its ability to properly digest food. But if you're having a real crisis in your abdominal area beyond what you experience as an upset stomach, get to the ER as soon as you can and insist on either an MRI or a CAT scan of your abdominal area. Don't let them tell you you've got the flu and send you home.
Yeah, we're serious
If you've
about
got
that.
a serious, intense pain that's more than you've had before, you insist on an imaging of the abdominal area.
So one word about drugs and medication: when crisis is here, when you've got a crisis, we recommend crisis care. We don't hesitate or debate the subject. If a crisis is present, go to the emergency room, call 911, or at least consult your family doctor. Okay.
Yeah, this is nothing to play around with. Serious digestive problems can lead to debility, disability, even death. And what appears as a simple case of stomach upset could be the underbelly of a very serious condition just beginning to make its presence known.
Yeah, as that lady I told you about who was diagnosed with Barrett's esophagus, which can lead to cancer. It's very serious.
Esophageal cancer, absolutely.
Yeah. And so, his only solution, did he send her to a healer and say, hey, this can be healed in about, 3 or 4 days, 30 days max?
Yes.
No, he gave her Prilosec, which just covered up the problem.
Yeah,
this is I'm sorry, this is just criminal. This is such an easy problem to fix.
So let me ask you, Mary, top 10 most common reasons for a doctor.
Number one.
This came from the National Center of Health Statistics. It's a government group.
Number one is coughs. Guess how many people?
22 million.
22 million visits for coughs.
Yeah, these are visits to see a doctor. This isn't just complaints.
Right. Number one is coughs. Number two is throat problems, 17 million. 3 is skin rashes. 4 is vision dysfunction. That's a big one. 5 is knee problems. Hey, the number one canceled surgery in our office.
Yep.
Number 5 is back problems.
6.
Hey,
Number
excuse
6.
me, that's number 6. And number 7.
Number 7.
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
Stomach problems.
Yeah, stomach problems.
12 million visits.
Ooh, are we married? Is that how we do that?
I guess so. I guess so. And so the sad facts of digestion, with 12 million visits per year for stomach problems, and that was back in 2002. The prevalence of this, 60 to 70 million people are affected by digestive diseases back in 1996.
And they're told the exact opposite.
Oh, yeah.
What they should do to fix this.
The number of non-institutionalized adults with diagnosed ulcers, 14.5 million.
Wow. Deaths, let's see, mortality, 234 deaths, including, I don't know what that one means.
These are deaths related to digestion.
Oh. Ooh.
Yeah.
234,000 deaths?
Yes. Directly related to digestive problems. Crohn's, irritable bowel, ulcerative colitis that leads to cancer of the bowel, colon cancer, and that was 2002.
Wow.
People who were hospitalized for stomach problems, 14 million, 9% of the population.
Wow.
The diagnostic therapeutic procedures that, gut resection, all kinds of different
Gallbladders.
things. Gallbladder, that kind of cholecystectomy,
Don't even
that
let
kind
me
of
go
stuff.
there. Yeah.
6 million.
Jeez.
Ambulatory care visits, just, be able to walk in and get some help, 45 million. And disability, 1.9 million people, totally disabled because of digestive problems.
So, as you can see from the slide, if you do see the slide, clear back in 1996, this was not only a problem involving millions of people, but one of the sources of a very lucrative area of the drug industry.
A lot of money is made by you not digesting your food properly.
Jeez.
So let's go on here. More than 50% of all Americans over 25 suffer from indigestion one time or another. We kind of mentioned that. GERD, acid indigestion, acid reflux, all these things that can lead to hiatal hernia, they're all essentially the same thing. Sometimes after you eat, you might experience this painful burning sensation in your chest.
Especially late at night.
Yes, and it feels like someone has run a knife right through you, just below your sternum, and is taking their time twisting it around.
That's
Regardless
horrible.
of the fact you may have felt that way towards somebody,
Yeah.
now and then it may happen to you.
Yeah, and you can also feel like your heart's being squeezed in the
Yes.
Yeah, and that's when it gets really scary. What you're actually feeling is actually the result of what happens when the contents of the stomach, the liquids, the bile, the stomach acids climb up the esophagus because you don't have enough acid in your stomach to break down the food you have just eaten. It's not because you have too little or too much acid. It's because you have too little acid.
Yes. GERD, indigestion, acid reflux, heartburn, all, with some of the most noxious, troublesome conditions that are afflicting mankind. I mean, let's face it, acid reflux. How many people do you know that kind of grab their stomach about an hour after they eat? It happens almost everywhere you turn, especially in the workplace.
I was out in New York City last February and went out with a whole group of people, and this one guy, he just barely started eating, and he did that. He grabbed his chest, and he says, I can't eat anything else. And we just ordered this huge meal that we were all sharing together. It was this really cool Asian place. He couldn't eat one thing. Literally, it was just like coming up. And me without my Zypan, because, I don't get acid reflux.
No.
So I didn't have my Zypan. But my brother, who's super, super medical, turned to me and said, turned to that guy and said, you need some Zypan. And they turned to me, Mary, where's your Zypan? I said, I don't have any on me because I don't use it. I don't need it that much. So usually it's in my my
I
purse.
carry it around with me. If I'm going to have a lot of protein and some carb mixed with it, man, I'll take 4, 5, 6 of those right after the meal and no problem whatsoever.
Right. I wish I would have. It would have just saved him. And it was so sad he didn't get to eat one thing.
Well, as we get older, our stomach just doesn't produce as much as it used to in the sense of acid.
I think it's the way we die. We just slowly starve to death. We can't break down the proteins to rebuild. And what are proteins? But the building block of our whole body.
Yeah.
And I think it happens.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and I think it happens faster and faster now than it used to because we're eating so many processed dead foods without any living enzymes in them. And we don't take long life energy enzymes.
Well,
of
I
course.
do now.
Yes. So as a result of that, of not having enough acid in our stomach, enough acid, we absorb less and less and digest less and less of the nutrition from the food that we eat.
Yes.
Let me give you an example really quickly. Talking about enzymes and processed dead food, if you stick a strawberry out on the counter and a piece of bread, eventually, given enough time, the strawberry will eat itself basically and disappear. I mean, it will be gone. There'll be a little red spot on the counter after a while. But the piece of bread, it's going to sit there forever. It's just going to dry up and sit there. So think about what your stomach has to do if you don't eat foods that have enzymes in them, or if you don't take any kind of enzymatic support when you eat, that your stomach has to do all the work. Your stomach has to break down that bread, which has nothing in it to help. Or if you eat a strawberry, it doesn't have to do a whole lot.
No.
Or any other food with good enzymes.
As soon as it's plucked from the strawberry plant, it starts to digest itself.
Yeah. Isn't that fascinating?
And so when you eat things like that, you have no problems with indigestion.
And vegetables, if you cook them really well, you can that is basically pre-digesting a vegetable because we really don't have the enzymes to break down vegetables, raw vegetables.
Yes.
We have enzymes, but it really helps out vegetables if you cook them, especially cruciferous that have that hard outer shell, and then you pour butter all over them and salt and whatever spices you want.
Now, when you say we don't have the enzymes to digest them, you, of course, are referring to cellulase.
Yes, that enzyme.
Which herbivores do have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, it's not so much the herbivore as it is the bacteria that lives in the herbivore's gut.
Good point. That's exactly
it. The bacteria is producing the cellulase to break down the cellulose fibers of the plants that they're eating, which is one reason why they have to eat and eat and eat, sun up to sundown, and later if they can.
We don't have time to eat all day. We're creators. We need to have time to create.
So we eat highly dense,
nutrition. That's
dense
why
food.
I had that argument with that vegetarian the one day, and he said, I eat every 2 hours. And I said,
well, when do you, how can you get anything done?
Oh, we're doing it again. Oh my goodness, this is getting freaky. So that's the thing. We need to eat very dense nutrition because we're at the top of the food chain. We need to eat the thing that ate 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 the thing because we have to have time to create. So like cows, they eat all day long. They have all those stomachs where the food goes down. They spit it back up. It goes down into another stomach with different bacteria in it that ferments it, spit it back up, take it back down. And they actually turn those vegetables that grass in, not vegetables, but grass into essential fatty acids.
Yeah.
And then we eat the cow and we get all that energy.
And we get the essential fatty acids into us from eating grass pastured animals.
And you got to have good stomach acids to break that down.
Okay. That was a nice little lecture there.
Digestion. It is an act of utter destruction. I often say it's the greatest disassembly line on the planet. Your GI tract is the greatest disassembly line.
Yeah. Now, it starts off with the amylase in the mouth that starts to break down carbohydrates.
Very alkaline.
They kind of go dormant when it hits the stomach acid. The stomach acid does not touch that stuff. It kind of goes on through the stomach into the gut. But the stomach is designed to be a huge, big bag full of acid. It's supposed to get down to 1.5 up to 2 pH. That's very acidic. It will dissolve metal at 1.5 to 2 if the metal gets in there.
And why does it have to get that low?
Well, it has to get that low to break the proteins down sufficient to become peptides, to start to become amino acids. But the most powerful digestive enzyme, not acid, but enzyme you have is pepsin. And pepsin is released from the walls of the stomach, and it won't be released until your acid content is 1.5 to 2 pH. And all of the anti-acid drugs you take stop that from happening. And if you cannot get the pH that low and you can't get pepsin in there or the formation of intrinsic factor, you cannot utilize vitamin B12. So you not only have a protein malnutrition problem, you end up having a course that takes you towards pernicious anemia because of a lack of B12 that can easily kill you as well.
Yeah, and we talked about this in our methylation, the MTHFR gene that everybody has now.
Because B12 is involved with that.
Right, because their stomach acids are so bad.
Yeah.
Because it's the number 2 selling drug, PPIs, proton pump inhibitors.
Yeah, behind antidepressants.
Yeah, no, I think statins are first.
Prozac.
No, statins. I think statins number 1.
Well, that must have just happened.
Maybe. I don't know. But it's in the top 3, okay? PPIs, statins.
Statins, antidepressants, statins, and PPIs.
Well, probably because they can't break down their proteins to rebuild their endocrine system, so they're all depressed. Yeah, and then they have heart problems.
It might be.
It just goes on and on and on. Yeah, so anyway, let's see. I guess we won't get into the parotid gland or anything like that. But when we ingest something that looks like food, smells like food, tastes like food, but isn't food, the whole system stops and sits still.
Now, before you ever learned about these digestive enzymes, did you ever eat a meal of something where you felt like it just sat there for hours and didn't move? Do you know why you felt that way? Because it sat there for hours and it didn't move. And the stomach is sitting down there saying, what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the brain is saying, hey, I don't control the mouth. I don't control the food choices. Do the best job you can. And the stomach is saying, I don't know what this is. The nutritional markers that I usually look for that recognizes something as a protein, a carb, or a fat, they look like they have Halloween masks on. I don't recognize these little colored
Skittles.
Breakfast cereals.
Yes.
Or I don't recognize this stuff called real margarine.
I have a slide up here, slide number 14. And truly, I kid you not, it's got, there's a product from Western Family that says real margarine.
What's fake margarine? I understand why you could call margarine fake butter, but what the heck is real margarine?
It's a real chemical.
Better for baking.
That's exactly what it is. So when you eat food, your parotid glands in your mouth tag the food. It's so brilliant the way the digestive system works. And it says, hey, there's some fat coming down. So you gallbladder, you can get rid of some stuff now, and bile and toxins. And once you start contracting, so by the time the fat gets down the small intestine,
There's plenty of bile sitting there waiting for it.
The fat and bust it up, and then you've got fat.
Well, these nutritional markers I'm talking about is usually the nutritional center of the food that was designed to be delivered to your stomach in the first place. And there are enzymes in whole foods, like Mary was talking about the strawberry, but these things are altered by manufacturing, and they will trigger the digestive enzymes to be released, or that should be released as soon as the food enters the mouth. But when these enzymes aren't present, it just sits there. And foods that have been commercially processed, the body has a very hard time deciding what to do with them, and they just sit in the stomach. And there's a little acid there.
Well, and they produce unnatural acids.
The action of acid on these chemicals that's in the food additives produces an unnatural acid.
So in a way, you kind of have too much acid. It's the wrong kind of acid in your stomach. But when your doctor tells you you have too much acid in your stomach, we're going to give you a drug to stop that nasty, bad acid.
And the most insane thing I have heard in pediatric medicine lately is they want to give PPIs to babies that have colic.
Yeah, you're going to ruin the whole podcast by saying that.
I better back up because I will start throwing things in a minute.
Yeah, I had a neonatal nurse that says they give PPIs to every single baby that are
because they don't want a colic problem, and the colic isn't caused.
It forces the pyloric valve open, so the food goes down the stomach. And then I've told this horror story before. It goes down into the small intestine. But I've told this story before where they're now taking babies in because they're not pooping fast enough, and they're cutting out half their small intestine. How would you like to have half your small intestine?
Who's going to believe that? Who would believe that?
Well, I wouldn't, except for she sat there and told me. I stood up and screamed. I mean, I'm just like, no. She goes, I have to quit my job. I have to quit it. I only work 3 days a week just to keep my license, but I have to quit because I can't. I'm for all these things. And she says the same with vaccinations. They come around and they vaccinate these preemie babies. She says
that have no immune system capable of dealing with a vaccination.
Throwing in all that aluminum and formaldehyde. These babies are just barely hanging on. She says, I can't handle it. She says they just walk in with their shot needles and zoom, 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 and PPIs. Give them the proton pump inhibitors.
So what's all that got to do with acid indigestion? Well, when we take what nature makes and we denature it in exchange for shelf life, it's not what nature made anymore.
Yeah.
And we get on a slide here, we give you an example of that with wheat. They take wheat and they grind it up, and white flour became really popular a little over 100 years ago because there's things you could do with white flour that whole wheat flour had a hard time doing. But with white flour, you just throw in some sugar and throw in a lot of lard and other kinds of natural animal shortening that they used back then before the vegetable oil showed up.
They don't use that anymore.
Oh, no, they put in vegetable oil now, another killer. And you end up with something that not even remotely represents food. It looks like it, like restaurant bread. They bring the bread out before they bring out your salad or meal, and it's got that hard crust, and it's got, that wonderful real margarine that they serve with it. And it tastes great because it's loaded with sugar and it's loaded with flavor enhancers.
You said the other day when we were at a restaurant, I wonder how many restaurants would close down if we banned sugar. Because you were having ribs or something, and it was like eating just a spoonful of sugar.
Oh,
the sauce on it. It was just ridiculous. They just load this up with sugar because it's dead food.
Yes.
It's like the dead zone in the grocery store. In the middle of the store is the dead zone. All around it is the live zone. But
the chemicals that they put in this stuff.
So we take wheat, we convert it into white flour, mix it into 10,000 different products, add flavor enhancers, color stabilizers to stabilize the false colors, mold inhibitors, pesticides, and artificial everything until it no longer
remotely represents
any kind of food. But it looks like food, it tastes like food, it smells like food, it feels like food, but it is not food. It's a chemical compound designed to be held up in some warehouse for months and months and months until delivery time brings it to the store.
So this is my experience here. If I eat a breakfast of bacon and eggs with no potatoes or bread or juice, especially orange juice, because orange juice is one of the most sugar-filled drinks you can have, You'll be fine for hours.
You'll be full.
Oh, yeah, you'll be full because
satisfied,
it takes a
satiated.
while for the body to break that fat down. Enough eggs and bacon, and you won't be hungry until the afternoon. And because eggs and bacon go the same digestive pathway. Both of them have fats, both of them have proteins, and
Yum.
an itty-bitty touch of carb. But when you add denatured food like toast, like English muffin, like biscuits, like a bagel or any of these kinds of things, especially at these fast food breakfast places, it stops the system. The food just sits there and it starts to ferment.
Ooh.
And then the unnatural gases and
Not
the
a good
acids form.
ferment.
Yeah. And the stuffiness that you feel is the bloating that's coming out of that gas. The gas starts to form in the stomach, but the cardiac valve that's sitting at the top of the stomach and the pyloric at the bottom are both closed. So what happens when gas forms inside there? It's just like blowing air into a balloon. And it begins to expand and expand, and then all of a sudden, the valve can't hold it back, and fire comes up the throat.
Ooh. And then you take your PPIs and it opens that pyloric valve open and the food goes down the small intestine. And, the small intestine doesn't know what to do with it. It can't absorb.
Yeah, the small intestine is saying to the stomach the same thing the stomach said to the brain. What the heck is this stuff? And the stomach says, it's your problem now. It's your problem now.
And it beats up the little enterocytes, so your villi get covered in all kind of mucus to protect the little villi, and then it just shoves it down into the colon. It's like, you take care of this. Well, the colon's a strong organ, but it can't take 20 years of undigested food going through it.
No.
So it just says, I'm done. I'm going to get infected.
And so you start, and then you get an overgrowth of the wrong bacteria, and you end up with irritable bowel or ulcerative colitis or just plain old colitis, or it progresses to Crohn's, and then you're on another bunch of drugs the rest of your life.
Yeah. Fire in the belly.
And eventually, the years of abuse, the lower esophageal sphincter that closes off the cardiac portion of the stomach is going to distend, it's going to herniate, and it won't be able to hold back any gas. So that's what happened to that one guy at that dinner. Immediately on eating, it started
it was immediate.
because the valve wouldn't close.
It was horrible. We had the other patient who had to sleep sitting up completely because his cardiac valve would not close at all.
Yeah.
He laid down. Everything just ran right back up. He had been on Prilosec for 20 years.
There are people listening right now who could eat a piece or two of pizza because somebody brought it over the house watching a game, movie, or something like that about an hour or so before they go to bed.
Kablam.
And an hour or so after they go to bed, they're sitting up really fast because they feel that river of fire rolling up their stomach, and it gets up high enough, it's going to burn so badly.
Let me give you a little hint right here.
It's going to take an hour or so to get back to sleep.
You run out in the kitchen, you grab your multizyme, you open up the capsule and dump it in the very back of your throat, and you will feel better almost instantly.
Yes, it'll neutralize it.
It will neutralize it. And then for that, if this has gone on a long time, that burning in your esophagus, because acid has no business being in your esophagus, you chew up some chlorophyll and it will just soothe that burn. So the reason your stomach is burning is because you don't have enough acid to break that pizza down, that dead food.
Yeah, it's not because you have too much. It's because you don't have enough. And so that stuff sits there and sits there and sits there. It's a condition that's called hypochlorhydria.
Hypochlorhydria.
Chlorhydria. Under too low a level of hydrochloric acid.
See, the name even says too little acid.
Yeah. And so the entire body can suffer when good digestion is lacking, obviously. I mean, this is not a little thing. The natural result of chronic indigestion leads to all kinds of digestive conditions: irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, which, of course, is the next step towards cancer of the bowel, or Barrett's esophagus.
Yeah,
that
scary.
is the precancerous condition of the esophagus, and you will not survive that. And these conditions don't get started because we have too much acid. As we've been talking about, it's because we don't have enough. And an underproduction of sufficient hydrochloric acid in the stomach, creates this cascade of almost, it's like a roller coaster that just doesn't have a bottom. It just rolls and rolls and rolls.
Oh, and this is when you get really bad gas, smelly gas. It means your proteins are not breaking down. It's like a dead animal on the side of the street. You know how bad they smell. So when you smell gas or stool coming out of you that smells like the dead,
there's no protein, or the protein digestion is severely inhibited.
Severely, and you're going to become a sick person before too long. But that is a huge wake-up call. When you smell the dead consistently. You know, occasionally you have it just because you eat something weird like lots of garlic or asparagus. But if it's a consistent thing, you better get on some Zypan to help break down that that protein. A lot of people find themselves throwing up because the body cannot use the undigested food. The body's, one of the big rules of the body is excretion. And it sees this food and it's like, I don't know what to do with this. And if you're not on a PPI or proton pump inhibitor, it just sits there in the stomach and it's like, my pyloric valve at the bottom of my stomach is clamped shut. It is not going to let anything down there in that small intestine to beat up my cute little enterocytes. So it clamps shut. Well, it's got to do something with it. So eventually makes you throw up. My ex-husband had this. I wish I'd known all this with him because he went and got that operation and terrible things. But he used to throw up all the time with massive acid indigestion. So, your body just says, hey, get rid of this now. We don't need much good food to live. We don't have to overeat like we do. And we know this because teenagers live. And they don't eat any good food. So the organ's strong, the colon is strong, but it cannot take 20 years, as I said before, of undigested food going through it.
So let me give you a little trivia question here. Do you remember what Ronald Reagan says was the scariest 10 words?
Oh, he said the 10 words are the scariest 10 words.
Yes, when he was running for president, he said, he says, what are the 10 scariest words? I'm from the government, and I'm here to help you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Those are 12. I didn't think they were 10.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Well,
I'm from the government, and I'm here to help you.
Oh, see, I should have IM'd it, and then it would have been 10.
It would have been 10.
Yeah,
I'm from the government, and I'm here to help you. Well, this is what the government will do to help you. This is from the NIH, Digestive Diseases
the official
publications on GERD, everything else.
This is the official U.S. government report on GERD, the National Digestive Disease Clearinghouse. It's from the NIH.
And their conclusion? The reason some people develop GERD is still unclear.
Can you believe
GERD,
that?
G-E-R-D, gastroesophageal reflux disease.
That's what they call heartburn sometimes.
Yeah, that's
GERD.
the official medical term for heartburn.
Can you believe that? The reason some people develop GERD is still unclear.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like 100 years, at least 60 years later from Dr. Roy Lee talking about this and creating, when he invented or made Zypan, he tried to sell it as a digestive aid. Zypan is the product that breaks down protein. Yeah. Well, they wouldn't let him. They wouldn't let him label it, this is a digestive aid. But the same year, 1937, they let Camel Cigarettes sell their cigarettes as a digestive aid.
What's that
and
tell you?
Today, 2016, they say the reason some people develop GERD is still unclear.
So what do they do for it? Well, there's antacids, Alka-Seltzer, Maalox, Mylanta, Rolaids, Riopan. They're usually the first things that are given because
they neutralize the acid.
Right, because they neutralize the acid.
So scary.
Then there's the foaming agent. This used to be big in the commercials, Gaviscon. I can remember Gaviscon commercials a long time ago that foams by covering the stomach contents with this foam to prevent reflux. I can't say that without breaking out the laughing.
It's so sad.
Then there's the H2 blockers, such as cimetidine, which is Tagamet, and famotidine, which is Peptid AC. And there's a few, Zantac falls into this group.
Jeez.
That decreases the acid production.
It decreases.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the scariest words on the planet. You will die without acid in your stomach. Acid is life. And they give you these U.S. government, the scariest thing in the world, they recommend decreasing your acid production.
Yeah.
So you'll break your bones.
It's like coming up to an accident and
problems.
there's gasoline all over the road and somebody says, we have got to stop gasoline.
Yeah, gasoline's the
It
problem.
must be the gasoline that's the problem.
My goodness.
It's that kind of idiocy. I don't know what else to call it. Then the proton pump inhibitors.
The king of them all, proton pump
Prilosec
inhibitors.
And Prevacid and Protonix.
And Nexium. And they're coming up with new names all the time.
And the proton pump inhibitor stops the proton pump that's in the wall of the stomach. The proton pump just sits there throwing out hydrogen ions. And the hydrogen ions mix with the chloride ions that's in the materials of the stomach, which is one reason why we need salt, so we have plenty of chloride. and that creates a molecule of acid every time it happens. And of course, it's happening millions of times all over the stomach wall. And that's what creates hydrochloric acid in the stomach. But a proton pump inhibitor stops the proton pump from working.
Unbelievable. Do you want me to tell the story really quick about this blog I read about?
If you can do it really quick.
Fast. This general surgeon, I read his blog because it was fascinating to hear what he did. And he would always do these operations for ulcers, and he would go in and into the stomach and cut out the ulcer and sew it up. I mean, we can take a little chlorophyll and 3 days later the ulcer, you can't feel it anymore.
Right.
But he goes in and makes all this money and cuts out the ulcer. Well, he said one time, this guy kept coming back in for more ulcer operations. So he decided, hey, I'm just going to cut the nerve that produces acid, and then this guy will never get an ulcer again. He effectively killed the guy. He effectively
gave him a slow death of malnutrition.
No protein absorption from then on out. Of course, he wasn't in really good shape anyway because he kept getting ulcers. But still, I mean, it could be turned around in a month. Our 30-day program can turn it around in a month. Oh, and we have to apologize for our cat, and we know you can hear her. It is a her. We just got her, so we're still kind of new to this. We know you can hear her in the background. She's super cute, though.
She's mad.
What?
She's mad because we're ignoring her.
We're not paying attention to her, so you guys just ignore her, too.
All right.
So that's the medical establishment's answer to heartburn, acid reflux, and GERD, to take antacids, foaming agents, H2 blockers, proton pump inhibitors, and anyway.
So this is what Big Pharma does not want you to know, and that's what we're going to tell you next. The answer to all that pain, and you can do it in less than 30 days. We give it a 30-day protocol because some people need a little longer because they've been on one of these drugs for 20, 30 years.
Well, I have to tell you, it did take 2 months for that guy I told you had to sleep sitting up. It took 2 months for him. Well, actually, he probably got better sooner than that, maybe in a month, but I didn't see him for 2 months, and he was completely better. I mean, he can lay down flat in bed now. I mean, he's just thrilled. I did have another guy that was on it 10 years, and he went off the proton pump inhibitor really slowly, which I recommend, because the other guy, he had a bad time, man. He threw up a ton. But this other guy, he took 4 months to get off of it. But then he's off it. I know I saved his life. I know I did. Yeah.
So you want relief, you want an end to the pain and suffering, you want a remedy, the answer, the holy grail of healing for your burning, your anguish, your sleepless nights, your fire-breathing, awful breath. We're finally coming to the end here.
This is the protocol. Yeah.
You're not going to get this from your family doctor.
No.
You're certainly not going to get it from the pharmacist at the local store. This is a remedy that everyone in the family can employ, even the family dog. No joke.
No joke, yeah. It's so fun to learn things you never knew. You can laugh a little. You can discover this is a simple, safe, and reliable answer to the burning pain so many people suffer today. I've got a picture on here on this slide 21 with this woman. It just breaks my heart. I had to put it on there because that's how you feel. She's so miserable, and her husband's trying to comfort her, because you'll go to a medical doctor all day long. They will never give you this forbidden information.
What parts of the body need protein?
Every part.
Every cell.
I'm trying to
every
think.
cell.
Let's
So
see.
when you stop protein digestion, what's going to suffer in the body?
Everything. Everything.
Then you have a patient for life.
Including the lady I talked about in the beginning, who, of course, she had only been on that Prevacet since February. Just since February, and she was coming down with such bad heart problems. Oh. It was scary. I mean, she was scared to death. When she came into the office and talked to me, she said, I prayed all the way into the office that somehow I could get some help with this. Because, she's doing exactly what her doctor told her to do since February, and everything was getting progressively worse. And she came in and did what we told her, and it's got a happy ending. And here is
the happy ending. Here
is the king of all digestive products that we recommend, and it's Zypan. Zypan.
Its number one ingredient is beta-ene hydrochloride, which will quickly become hydrochloric acid.
Yes, and it's also got bovine pancreas extract in it.
It has pepsin.
Yes, it's got pancreatin in it. It's got, well, it's on the next slide. But before we go to the next slide, just want to say this is the antidote to Prilosec, because I put the picture of Prilosec back up there. Yeah, Mr. Larry the cable guy. Yeah. So you can get rid of Larry the cable guy and just use Zypan. Zypan is your best friend. If you didn't take anything
there are
else.
so many people who now carry around in their purse a little bottle of
a
Zypan.
little bottle of Zypan. We have a big one on our counter at all times and little ones in our purses and wherever. So here I can read this slide now. This is Zypan's ingredients, and it has pepsin in it, ammonium chloride, bovine spleen.
Ammonium chloride becomes acidic in water.
Which is when it hits your stomach, and then bovine spleen and ovine spleen. So, let's see, that's got the intrinsic factor in it, doesn't it? Bovine pancreacytosol extract, pancreatin 3X. We have pancreatin in our long life energy enzymes. I think it's 6X though.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really, really strong. But this Zypan, it supports everything in your gastrointestinal tract because it is the foundational thing that you need. Well, chewing actually is more foundational. You need to chew your food really, really well. And then when it gets down to the stomach, you got to have good stomach acids. And if you don't, then you take Zypan, and I don't care how much because your stomach is built for acid, but 3 or 4 a meal is pretty.
At the end of the meal.
Is pretty good. And it will retrain your stomach how to make hydrochloric acid.
Yes.
I get that question often. Do I become dependent on this? No. It does the opposite. It teaches your stomach how to do this. Like I said, I don't even have to carry it around, but I haven't ever had too many problems with it.
And its twin brother that we recommend here.
Yeah.
Long Life Energy Enzymes. It's a product we created. We have podcasts on this. But it has all of the pancreatic enzymes.
And that's very
foundational. And the pancreas has become sluggish because of all of the crazy food combinations people have been eating that the body can't recognize. And the pancreas says, I don't know what that stuff is. I don't care about it. This helps to retrain the pancreas to get it back on the team.
It has serious enzymes in it. Some of the strongest enzymes known to man, which your pancreas produces, but when it gets sluggish, it doesn't produce these anymore, and so it doesn't help you digest your food. So this will enable you to have complete digestive breakdown of your food. It will get rid of bloating, heartburn. It's a fantastic pancreatic support product, very, very foundational to go along with the Zypan.
All right. That brings us up to the end.
Yes.
So we want to remind you one more time about the free symptom survey. If you're listening to this for the first time, or if you've been listening but you haven't taken it, you go to forbiddendoctor.com, and there is a short symptom survey for you to take out. It's not like the one we used to have. It's one we've created. Mm-hmm. It's a little shorter. It's a little more in depth. It gives us a good profile of what's going on.
It's what we wanted to get answers. It's the answers we wanted.
Yeah.
And so when you finish this, then as soon as you get your protocol back, you go to our website, sign in, and you will see your personalized protocol sitting right there waiting for you.
That's right.
We've really simplified this.
Now, I want you to repeat that. I want you to tell them what they're going to get for free.
For total free. You fill out the survey, then we will come up with a personalized protocol for you, which saves you money in the long run because you're not buying things, the new greatest thing that came across, the TV at 3 o'clock in the morning, and spending all your money on things that you don't know will work for you. So we want to give you the best protocol for you. We try to make it as short as we can. And then when you sign in, after you've gotten your username,
there waiting for
it's sitting there waiting for you. You don't even have to go pick the products anymore or anything. It's just bam. It's so nice. So tell your family, tell your friends. If you're not already a member of our website, the only way to see all our 700 protocols is to take the survey at forbiddendoctor.com.
All right. And then our ever familiar disclaimer.
The statements we have made about specific products have not been evaluated by the United States Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, and they are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. All information provided or any information contained on or in any product label or packaging or this webinar or podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for advice from your physician or other healthcare professional.
Yes.
Da-da-da-da.
And then again, we recommend along with that, you don't run with scissors, you don't put your hand in a burning fire, you don't argue with your mother, and always remember to buy low and sell high.
Okay, there we are.
That'll do
30
it.
days later, heartburn, be gone.
Heartburn be gone. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Forbidden Doctor podcast with Dr. Jack and Mary Stockwell. It's our pleasure to join you on your health revolution and look forward to our quest for health together. Join us again next week for more health secrets and forbidden truths about self-healing. Until then, visit ForbiddenDoctor.com and enter your email to receive a special coupon for the Forbidden Doctor Special Scientific Formula, our long life energy enzymes. This custom-made one-capsule supplement is created from the most concentrated energy-stimulating enzymes. For more information, be sure to head over to ForbiddenDoctor.com. These podcasts are provided for information only. The previous statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. Nothing that was said is intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.